An assistant high school football coach arrested for driving drunk. I'm Cody Boyer in Belgrade. How it might not be his first time.
There's a possibility tobacco products might be banned in Bozeman city parks. I'm Gabby Crevitt, and I'll have the details coming up.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Tuesday, Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you. We will have those stories in a moment. Meantime, Matt, it is just flat out cold out there right now.
Frigid.
Beautiful.
The silver lining is we don't have a ton of wind, but even a light wind is making a difference early this morning. Our temperatures trying to warm up in West Yellowstone. We have up to 20 below, 2 degrees in Belgrade, 0 in Butte. You factor in the wind. Most areas not seeing a huge difference because the wind is pretty light, but by the afternoon, the wind speeds will be between 10 and 20 miles an hour, and that's going to make it feel a little brisk. Our skies are clear, which is part of the reason why our temperatures are so much colder early this morning than they have been. And I can't rule out a few isolated flurries throughout the day, especially in the mountains of southwest Montana, but by the evening, could see a few spotty snow showers as well in a few of the valleys. Daytime highs topping out around the 30-degree mark. We're going to talk about our chances of snow as we head toward the weekend as well. That's all coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:30 now on this Tuesday. Our top local story this half hour. Former Belgrade High School assistant football coach made an appearance in court yesterday on DUI charges. And investigators say it's a situation Carrie Mounts has been caught in before. 10's Cody Boyer has the latest.
Officers say they pulled over Carrie Mounts' truck on East Main Street in Manhattan with Mounts at the wheel with others on board. When asked, Mounts told officers that he had had some White Claws and a whiskey, blowing a .16, swaying back and forth. Then officers arrested him. But in Justice Court, more was revealed.
He lives in Belgrade with the Suns half-time, and then he's also a high school football coach.
And the prosecution revealed a history.
The prior DUI convictions for Mr. Mounts are from 2016, 2013, and 1993.
Thank you for calling the Montana High School Association.
I left a message for Belgrade Superintendent Godfrey Saunders, then called MHSA to look into a few things. Is there a screening process? What rules are there in terms of finding an assistant coach? They referred me back to Belgrade School Administration. There, I linked up with Belgrade High School Athletic Director Rick Phillips. Phillips confirmed Carrie Mounts coached for the last 2 years, but was not under contract for the 2020-21 fall season. Phillips went on to tell me all assistant coaches were given the opportunity to resign, but Mounts had never accepted and had missed the deadline. Prior to this incident, Phillips says Mounts would have had to reapply and would not be returning, a situation that he added leaves a hole to fill. In Belgrade, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Cody tells us if Mounts is convicted, he could face up to 5 years in prison, up to $10,000 in fines, along with up to 13 months with the Department of Corrections Alcohol Treatment Program. Mining City headlines: Butte police had to use a taser to subdue a man Saturday who forced his way into a chemical dependency center. Mark Ney faces charges of simple assault and resisting arrest after police say he forced his way into this center on East Mercury Street, then threatened staff. Police chased him to East Park Street, deployed a taser on him when he resisted arrest. According to police, Ney remains in jail as of this morning. In other news, health officials with the Gallatin City County Health Department laid out reasons why the Bozeman City Commission should ban tobacco products in city parks. MTN's Gabby Crevitt has the details on what commissioners are saying and whether or not this ban could take effect.
You'd be hard-pressed to find kids out and about on the playground and at the park in the dead of winter. But right now, the Bozeman City Commission is discussing the possibility of making city parks tobacco-free in order to combat youth tobacco usage. Officials with the Gallatin County City Health Department say the research is clear. Banning tobacco products in parks reduces smoking occurrences and tobacco litter.
We went and visited 5 popular Bozeman parks, and we did some observational studies where we sat and noticed how many people were using tobacco, and then we also collected tobacco litter.
Health officials then put up smoke-free signs in 2 of the popular parks and found smoking and tobacco litter decreased in both. Bozeman's mayor says passing a city-wide resolution would serve as a self-policing way to reduce a problem. But there would be no citations or punishment for a violation.
It's really peer pressure and just asking people to be mindful of others.
Commissioner Pomeroy says she supports banning tobacco use in parks, but would like to see some consequences down the road.
When you're caught into smoking in the park, you should pay the fine.
Deputy Mayor Cindy Andrus says she still has some questions about a potential resolution, but thinks a total ban may be a bit of an overstep and not the most effective way to address youth tobacco usage. Mayor Chris Mell says we may see a tobacco-free parks resolution at a commission meeting in the near future. And depending on how commissioners vote, we could see action as early as this spring. Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
Now, Gabby tells us, according to the Bozeman City Commission, a resolution to ban tobacco products in parks would also include vaping products. More to follow on that story for sure. Also, one of the groups seeking to legalize marijuana in Montana is revising a proposed initiative after state officials raised legal concerns over its original draft. New Approach Montana proposing a pair of initiatives to allow recreational Montana for people 21 and over. Leaders say they have removed a provision that would have reduced the tax on medical marijuana. State legal analysts say making any changes to the medical marijuana system would violate a rule that initiative only deal with a single subject. New Approach decided to focus only on legalization. Proposed initiatives have to get approval from the state before they can start collecting signatures to qualify for the ballot. Another committee, Montana Can, also trying to qualify a legalization initiative. In other news this morning, Gallatin County search and rescue crews were called out on Sunday to help a snowmobiler who had busted his leg on Buck Ridge near Big Sky. Man was able to use his cell phone to call for help. GPS coordinates put the man in McAtee Basin. Medical helicopter was able to land at the scene. The man was taken to a nearby hospital. Well, the Montana Outdoor Hall of Fame accepting nominees for next class of inductees. The honor recognizes Montana historical and contemporary conservation leaders. The Hall of Fame also brings awareness to the stories of the nominees and their dedication to the outdoors. Nominees do not have to be living in Montana. They only have to have spent time in Montana and made a significance in their time here. 2014 Hall of Fame inductee Jerry Jennings says that she's looking to nominate someone who has dedicated a significant portion of their life to conservation in Big Sky country.
What the Montana Outdoor Hall of Fame talks about is this can be a person living or deceased. I prefer to nominate someone who's alive, but it's someone who makes a significant and lasting contribution to conservation and restoration of our wildlife and wild places.
By the way, Jennings moved to Montana from Germany some 46 years ago. Well, it looks as though a familiar face wins this year's Race to the Sky. Jessie Royer, Seeley Lake, crossed the finish line well ahead of her nearest competitor. Royer won her first Race to the Sky competition as a teen back in 1994, finished third in last year's Iditarod. The 100-mile race wrapped up on Sunday with 26-year-old Josie Terre, also of Seeley Lake, taking the top spot. Scott White, Charmaine Morrison took second and third respectively. Tier also received the Jack Beckstrom Best Cared For Team Award. Organizers told MTN it's been a great year for the race, but even with good conditions, 3 rookie mushers to the 300-mile race had to leave the race early.
And all of them have said, boy, we learned so much here for next time. The weather was warm for some of them at the start on Saturday, and so they were, taking their time and just trying to make sure that their team was healthy.
That's just fantastic, by the way. Congratulations to all the mushers. Glad everybody made it through, and the teams as well. It is 6:38. We're going to take a quick break here on Montana this morning. When we come back, yesterday was the deadliest day in the coronavirus outbreak in China. We have the latest, but first we're going to check in with Tony DeCopel, who's in New Hampshire this morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, I'm here in New Hampshire where some polls open right at midnight and the candidates are making their final push to gain support. We're going to hear from state officials hoping to avoid another Iowa disaster. And we break the ice, literally, to get voter opinions on candidates and the issues. Plus, we look at the history of this century-old first-in-the-nation primary and whether this proud tradition has a long-term future. We'll see you at 7.